Hi guys, welcome back. Just going to do a quick little vid of a flipper rebuild on my space station. They've got some strength in them. They're just, I don't know, I can't explain, but they just don't feel right. So I've got a rebuild kit there. So I'm just going to put it on. I just literally found it. I didn't even know I had it. So I thought, well, I'm going to put it on. So this era of System 11's got this double stack end of stroke, which one of the switches is the end of stroke and the other controls the lane change. And as you can see, they're pretty corroded there on the tips. I've tried to clean them with a bit of business card, and they do work okay, but I don't know, I don't like the flip. Also the cabinet switches, they're kind of, it sounds ridiculous, but they're like on or off, which I know flippers are. But I think sometimes they're a bit flaky, like so you push the button and there's a delay and then it kind of flips. So you can see they're pretty toasty. So I'm going to replace both of those and then see how it feels, and if I feel the need, I'll rebuild the flippers as well. I mean, to be fair, I don't want to do it for the sake of it. All these linkages and plungers, they all look okay. So I might just do the flipper switch, the cabinet switches, and see how that feels. But yeah, be right back. Excuse the builders next door. Okay, so I've put one on. So the ones that come off, you can see where someone has manhandled that and bent that copper, or whatever that is. So that for me is the sort of feedback, the springiness from your flipper button, because without this bit here, you know, with the resistance on the button, there's nothing. They're not sprung, these buttons. So if you've got that bent out of shape, you've not got that feedback from the flipper button. So you basically want to leave that as it is, as the tension for the button, and bend this leaf outwards to get your flipper gap, if that makes sense, and then you're pushing this bit to close the gap, and you've got that resistance for a nice feedback. The ones that I've just taken off had none of that. It was just loose feeling. There's no springiness to the buttons, and it felt horrible to flip, if that makes any sense at all. Probably doesn't, but sorry. Right, looks like Stevie Wonder soldered it, but I've come to the conclusion after 12 years in the hobby, I'm at my level. Right, so as you can see, hopefully that'll focus. You've got a little gap there. I haven't adjusted this because that's my tension, so I've just peeled back on this bit just to get the gap, if that makes sense. And they feel nice, so I'm going to fire it up now and just see how that flips, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to do the actual mix. Right, in all honesty, I don't think it's made any difference whatsoever apart from to the feel of the feedback in the button. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. Hi guys, right, the flipper rebuild worked a treat. However, I was just playing and I noticed all the flashes on the right hand side just locked on nice and bright, and at the same time the flippers died. So I probably had like a second, maximum 2 seconds before of reaction time to turn it off. And just as a real quick sort of reference really, I suspect a transistor's gone short. So I just put I put it on continuity, put one lead on the backboard, which is the whole back plate is a ground, and I just went along touching all the tops of the transistors, because this part of it is ground, to see if I've got a short. And lo and behold, when I get to Q32, we've got a short to ground. None of the others, I've been through them all. And Q32 is a ground short. So pound a pinch of shit, that is for these flash lamps. So I haven't got a manual, so I'm going to have to go and look on my iPad and look it all up, but I can pretty much guarantee that'll be that. So it's just, yeah, this little tip really, if that ever happens, you get locked on coils or locked on flashes, but one of your transistors has gone short, and a real quick, easy way to test it is to put your multimeter on continuity, stick one lead on the backboard and just touch the tops of all of them and see if you get a beep, which I do. So that'll be a job for tomorrow. Never ends. Right guys, update on space station. So I last said, albeit it's a second in the video, it's a couple of days ago, that the transistor was locked on for Q32, which controls the right hand flasher lamps. Testing that in circuit as it was, plugged in, everything like that. Got a ghost. The short was showing. So I took the board out to replace the transistor. I just checked it again before I took it out, and it tested fine. It was in spec with all the others, it wasn't shorted. So I took some advice from the forum, and someone suggested that one of these transistors on the auxiliary driver board is the culprit. So what I found was that with this board disconnected, the short went away on there in a nutshell. So what I actually did was, first of all, is this fuse had blown down here as a result of the short. So I thought I'll try booting it with a circuit breaker in there. Now it's supposed to be a 4 amp fuse according to the diagram, and I put a 5 amp breaker in there, and it was a 5 amp fuse it had blown. And basically when I turned it on, this board here lit up like a Christmas tree. You could see the glowing orange of all the tracks behind on the back of the board. Sparks flying out of these connectors. It was on for about 2 seconds. I quickly turned it off. The smell was disgusting. It was still in my nose about 48 hours later. And it probably went up in smoke. So I had that out. The traces on the back, excuse me, were completely blown, like exploded. I'll include a picture of that. And I was really annoyed with myself. But then someone suggested that the driver transistor, if you look in the manual, there's one of these is associated with two of these, basically, one for the flashes and one for a solenoid. So it was the left kicker or left ball popper, right flashers, and lo and behold, Q1 was short. So I put a new one of these tip 36s in Q1, didn't touch anything on there, tested all of the diodes and the resistors and fuses and the rest of the transistors on that board that I knew how to do with my meter, and everything's, despite going literally up in flames, tested okay. So I put I soldered some jumper wires on the back from the traces that I blew out, put it all back together, and miraculously it bloody works. So yeah, even after a few years of fixing things and replacing several transistors on boards, I would always isolate them and check them to see if the short is still there, because moral of the story is it might not be that component that's gone short. It could be something else which kind of ghosts that one, which it was in this case. And it was a very helpful forum member, said exactly the same thing happened to him. Try looking at the auxiliary driver board or power board and see if one of those is short, and lo and behold it was. I got away with it, but it was I was very annoyed with myself, let's put it that way. So Space Station is had the flipper rebuilds, new cabinet switches. Now it's had a transistor replaced on the auxiliary power board, and it's all working again. Although I will say, in my journey, I had noticed some awful repairs to this board. It works, so I'm going to leave it. But if you have a look at that Q, where is it? Can't line it up on my phone. Yeah, look at that. Look. That's got very hot at some stage, or someone butchered it with a soldering iron. There's no solder left on them, but they work. So I'm just going to leave them. Also down here, that one, very bad solder job, even worse than mine. But they're working. So, you know, my mantra is if it's not broken, don't fix it, because I tend to fix things till they break. So yeah, that's Space Station flipper rebuild's done, and a little impromptu driver board repair.